I stood on the porch of my son's colonial in Westchester County, holding a pumpkin pie I'd been up since 5 a.m. baking, his favorite, with the cinnamon streusel topping he'd loved since he was 7. Through the beveled glass of the front door, I could hear laughter, warm, comfortable laughter, the kind that comes from family gathered together. But I was still outside. I'm Vivian Marshall, and before I tell you what happened when I walked through that door, let me ask you something. Where are you watching this from? Drop your location in the comments because I want to know I'm not alone in what I'm about to share. What happened that Thanksgiving changed everything I thought I knew about motherhood, sacrifice, and the fine line between loving someone and letting them destroy you? Now let me take you back to that moment. I'd driven 3 hours from my home in Connecticut. I'd arrived 30 minutes early because that's what you do when you're excited to see your son, your daughter-in-law Jessica, and your 2 grandchildren, Emma and Tyler. I'd texted when I left. I texted when I was an hour out. No response, but that was normal for Marcus. He was always busy, always distracted. I rang the doorbell. Once, twice. Through the frosted glass, I could see movement, shadows shifting in the hallway. I heard Tyler's voice, high and excited. "Someone's at the door!" Then Jessica's voice, sharp and quick. "Tyler, go help Nana Cheryl set the table." Nana Cheryl. My hand froze on the door handle. I knew that name, Cheryl Whitmore, Jessica's mother, a woman I'd met exactly 3 times in the 5 years since Marcus and Jessica married, a woman who lived in Arizona and had, according to my son, her own life and not much interest in grandkids. The door swung open. Marcus stood there wearing the apron I'd given him last Christmas, the one that said, "Grill Master." His smile faltered for just a fraction of a second when he saw me. "Mom, you're early." "I texted you," I said, lifting the pie slightly. "I said I'd be here by 3. Right? Yeah." He ran a hand through his hair, that nervous gesture he'd had since childhood. "It's just, we weren't expecting you this soon." From somewhere inside, I heard a woman's laugh. Rich, confident, not Jessica's laugh. "Can I come in?" I asked. "Or should I wait on the porch until my assigned arrival time?" "Mom, don't be like that." He stepped aside, and I walked into the home I'd helped them buy, the home I'd co-signed for when the bank said they needed a stronger financial backer, the home where I'd spent countless weekends helping them paint, furnish, and settle into their new life. The dining room was visible from the entryway. The table was set for 12, beautiful autumn centerpiece, my grandmother's china that I'd given Jessica for their wedding. And at the head of the table, in the chair where I'd sat for every holiday since they'd moved here, sat a woman in a burnt orange cashmere sweater, laughing with Emma on her lap. Cheryl Whitmore had taken my seat. "Vivian!" Jessica appeared from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a towel. Her smile was too bright, too forced. "You made it." "I did," I said slowly, still staring at the dining room. "Though it seems I'm late to my own family's Thanksgiving." Cheryl looked up then. She was younger than me by about 5 years, somewhere in her late 50s, with expertly highlighted blonde hair and the kind of casual elegance that comes from country club memberships and regular spa visits. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Vivian, how wonderful to finally spend a holiday together." She said it as if we'd been planning this for months, as if this had been a mutual decision. Emma, my 6-year-old granddaughter, squirmed off Cheryl's lap and ran to me. "Grandma Viv, you brought pie." At least someone was happy to see me. "I did, sweetheart." I kissed the top of her head, breathing in the strawberry scent of her shampoo. "Where should I put it?" "I'll take that." Marcus reached for the pie, avoiding my eyes. "Mom, why don't you go say hello to everyone?" Everyone. I scanned the room. Jessica's father, Robert, her sister Amanda with her husband and 2 kids, and there, on the couch in the living room, was Tyler, my 8-year-old grandson, playing video games next to a teenage boy I didn't recognize. "Who's that with Tyler?" I asked. "Oh, that's Cheryl's grandson, Brandon," Jessica said quickly. "He's visiting from Phoenix. We thought the boys would enjoy having someone closer in age." Tyler had someone closer in age. He had his cousins. He had the neighborhood kids he played with every weekend when I used to visit regularly, before the visits became less frequent, before the phone calls grew shorter, before I started to feel like I was intruding on something I couldn't quite name. "Where would you like me to sit?" I asked, keeping my voice level. The question hung in the air. Marcus exchanged a glance with Jessica. Cheryl suddenly became very interested in adjusting the napkin rings. "Well," Jessica said finally, "we set you up at the other end, next to Amanda's kids. They love their Grandma Viv." The other end. The far end. The end where you put the overflow guests, the plus ones, the people who were invited out of obligation rather than desire. I walked slowly to the dining room, my heels clicking on the hardwood floors I'd helped them refinish. The chair at my end was smaller, squeezed between the wall and the children's booster seat. The nice china was at Cheryl's end. Down here we had the everyday plates. "This is cozy," I said. Marcus winced. "Mom, no, really, very efficient use of space." I set my purse down and straightened my spine. "Cheryl, that's a beautiful sweater. New?" She touched the cashmere almost reflexively. "Oh, this. Jessica took me shopping yesterday. We had the loveliest girls' day. The boutique in town has the most amazing selection." Girls' day. Yesterday. While I was preparing dishes to bring, confirming my arrival time via text, baking since dawn, Jessica had been shopping with her mother. "How nice," I said. "I didn't realize you were in town." "Oh, I flew in last week," Cheryl said, settling back into the head chair like a queen on her throne. "Jessica asked if I could come early to help with preparations. You know how stressful the holidays can be." I did know. I knew because for the past 5 years, I'd been the one helping with preparations. I'd been the one in that kitchen the night before Thanksgiving, teaching Jessica how to brine the turkey properly, sharing my mother's secret for perfect gravy. I'd been the one getting up at dawn to start the side dishes, playing sous chef while she worked on the main course. "I wasn't aware Jessica needed help," I said carefully. "She's always been such a capable host." "Well, with her mother here, she didn't want to burden you with the trip," Marcus interjected, his voice too loud, too jovial. "We thought you might enjoy a more relaxed holiday this year." Relaxed. The word tasted bitter. This wasn't relaxation. This was erasure. Robert, Jessica's father, cleared his throat from his position next to Cheryl. "Vivian, I hear you've been doing some traveling. Marcus mentioned you went to Maine over the summer?" "I did, a week-long painting retreat. I'd invited Marcus and Jessica to visit me there for a weekend. They'd declined, citing work commitments. Now I wondered what they'd really been doing." "How artistic," Cheryl said, in a tone that made artistic sound like unemployed. "I've always admired people who have so much free time for hobbies." The implication was clear. Free time. Because surely I had nothing else to do, no one else who needed me. Tyler came running in. "Nana Cheryl, Mom says dinner's almost ready. Can we do the wishbone thing you promised?" Nana Cheryl, not Grandma Cheryl or even just Cheryl. The same Nana he'd called me since he could talk. "Of course, sweetheart," Cheryl beamed. "It's a tradition in our family. The youngest and oldest make a wish together." Our family. As if I wasn't sitting right there. As if their family hadn't expanded to include my grandchildren through my son. Emma tugged on my sleeve. "Grandma Viv, will you help me color after dinner? I got new markers." "I'd love to, baby." "Actually, Emma," Jessica called from the kitchen doorway, "Nana Cheryl promised to show you her photo albums from when Mommy was little. Remember?" Emma's face lit up, and she bounded toward Cheryl instead. I watched my granddaughter climb into another woman's lap, and something inside my chest cracked. Marcus appeared at my shoulder with a glass of wine. "Here, Mom. It's that Pinot Noir you like." I took it, meeting his eyes. "When were you going to tell me about this new arrangement?" "There's no arrangement. Cheryl's just visiting. Don't make this into something it's not." "What is it then, Marcus? Because from where I'm sitting, literally, it looks like you've replaced me." His jaw tightened. "That's dramatic." "Is it? Your children call her Nana. She's in my chair. Jessica took her shopping. What am I missing?" You're missing the fact that maybe, just maybe, it's not always about you." His voice was low but sharp. "Maybe Jessica wanted her mother here. Maybe we wanted to do Thanksgiving differently this year." I stared at my son. This man I'd raised alone after his father walked out when Marcus was 4. This man whose college education I'd funded by working double shifts as a nurse. This man whose wedding I'd mostly paid for because Jessica's parents were going through a tight spot financially. "Differently," I repeated. "You wanted to do it differently, by not telling me your plans had changed. We didn't think you'd understand." "Understand what? That I'm no longer wanted?" "See, this is exactly what I mean." Marcus ran his hand through his hair again, that nervous gesture now tinged with frustration. "You make everything so heavy. Cheryl's easy. She's fun. She doesn't guilt-trip us or keep track of every little thing she's done." The words hit like a physical blow. Every little thing. As if sacrificing my 20s, 30s, and 40s to give him a good life was little. As if the down payment on this house was little. As if showing up, always showing up, was something to be dismissed. "Dinner's ready." Jessica's voice, determinedly cheerful, rang out from the kitchen. Everyone moved to the table. I stood frozen until Emma grabbed my hand. "Come on, Grandma Viv, I'm starving." We sat. The food was passed. The conversation flowed around me like I was a stone in a stream. Present but irrelevant. Something to move around rather than include. Cheryl told animated stories about Jessica's childhood. Robert chimed in with embarrassing anecdotes. Amanda's children laughed. My grandchildren hung on every word. I was silent. I ate the turkey I hadn't prepared, the stuffing I hadn't made, the cranberry sauce from a can because no one had bothered with my from-scratch recipe. Then Cheryl raised her glass. "I'd like to make a toast," she announced. Everyone quieted. "To Jessica and Marcus, for opening their beautiful home to all of us. To family, both the one we're born into and the one we choose." Her eyes flickered to me for just a second. "And to new traditions. May this be the first of many Thanksgivings where we're all together like this. All together, except I was apart." They clinked glasses, they drank, they smiled, and then Marcus said it. The words that would change everything. "You know what, Mom?" He was looking at me now, emboldened by wine and Cheryl's presence. "We've actually been talking about this for a while. Jessica and I think it might be better if we alternate holidays. This year, Cheryl's parents get Thanksgiving and Christmas. Next year, you can have them." "We upgraded," he added, with a small laugh that was supposed to make it sound like a joke, but landed like a verdict. "No offense, but Cheryl's got the whole holiday thing down to a science. Look at this table. Look at how happy everyone is. If you're watching this and you can feel your heart breaking for me, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button right now, because what I did next, you're not going to want to miss a single moment of it." I set down my fork carefully. I folded my napkin. I stood up. "You're absolutely right," I said calmly. Everyone stared at me. Jessica's fork paused halfway to her mouth. Robert stopped chewing. Even the children went quiet, sensing the shift in the room's atmosphere. "You've upgraded," I continued, my voice steady despite the rage and heartbreak warring inside me. "To someone who flies in once a year, who wasn't there for the sleepless nights with colic or the emergency room visits or the parent-teacher conferences, to someone who didn't teach Tyler to ride a bike or take Emma to her first day of kindergarten when you both had to work. But you're right. She does throw a beautiful dinner party." "Mom," Marcus started. "I'm not finished." I picked up my purse. "Since you've upgraded, let me tell you what else is about to change. That down payment I gave you for this house, the one you promised to pay back when things got easier, I'm calling it in. The co-sign on your mortgage, I'm exploring options to remove myself. The car Jessica drives, the one titled in my name because your credit wasn't good enough 3 years ago, I'll need that back." Jessica's face went white. "Vivian, you can't be serious. The college funds I've been contributing to for Emma and Tyler, those monthly deposits end today. The health insurance I added you all to through the hospital's family plan because it was better than what Marcus's company offered, I'll be making some changes there, too. You're overreacting, Marcus said, standing now. This is exactly the kind of manipulation. Manipulation? I cut him off. No, sweetheart, manipulation is letting me drive 3 hours with a smile on my face while you'd already decided I was demoted. Manipulation is calling your mother's decades of sacrifice little things. This? I gestured around the table. This is me accepting your upgrade. If Cheryl is the grandmother you want, then she can be the grandmother in every sense. Financial, emotional, logistical, all of it. Cheryl's face had lost its smug satisfaction. She looked distinctly uncomfortable now, suddenly understanding that there were layers to this family she hadn't considered. Now wait just a minute, Robert interjected. There's no need to be hasty about financial matters. People are emotional. You're right. I am emotional. I'm hurt and angry and disappointed. But I'm not being hasty. I'm being clear. I looked at each of them. I've spent 5 years bending over backward to be the grandmother, the mother-in-law, the family member you could count on. I rearranged my schedule, my finances, my entire life around being available for this family. And tonight, I learned I was being tolerated, not treasured. I walked around the table to where Emma and Tyler sat, their faces confused and scared. I kissed each of them on the forehead. I love you both more than anything. Remember that, always. Grandma, where are you going? Emma's voice was small. Home, sweetheart. But we haven't had pie yet, Tyler said. I looked at the pumpkin pie on the sideboard, the one I'd been up since dawn making. Let Nana Cheryl serve it. I'm sure she'll do it better than I ever could. Then I walked out. I walked out of that dining room, out of that house, down those porch steps. I sat in my car for exactly 30 seconds, hands gripping the steering wheel, breath coming in short gasps. Through the window, I could see their silhouettes moving in the dining room. Part of me expected Marcus to come running out to apologize, to beg me to come back inside. The door never opened. That's when I knew I was absolutely doing the right thing. I drove back to Connecticut in a blur, stopping once at a rest area because I was shaking too hard to continue safely. An elderly woman in the parking lot asked if I was okay. I told her I'd just had the worst Thanksgiving of my life. She hugged me, this complete stranger, and said, "Then make sure tomorrow is the first day of your best life." I got home at 9 p.m. I didn't cry. I poured a glass of wine, opened my laptop, and I got to work. First, the house. I pulled up the paperwork. I'd given them $65,000 as a down payment, my entire retirement savings at the time. I'd rebuilt it since, but that money was legally documented as a loan, not a gift. Marcus had insisted on that, actually, said it would help with taxes. I drafted a formal repayment demand, full amount due within 90 days, with interest calculated from the date of the loan. Second, the car. Jessica's SUV was titled In My Name, with her listed as a registered user. The insurance was mine. According to my attorney, yes, I called her at 9:30 on Thanksgiving night, and yes, she answered because we'd been friends for 20 years. I had every legal right to reclaim my property with 72 hours' notice. Third, the credit cards. I'd added Marcus as an authorized user on 2 of my cards during a temporary cash flow problem that had lasted 2 years. I removed him from both accounts. Outstanding balance he'd accrued, $14,000. That was now his problem. Fourth, the college funds. I'd been depositing $500 monthly into 529 accounts for each grandchild, accounts I'd opened and funded entirely myself. I was listed as the owner, not contributor. I stopped the automatic transfers and changed the beneficiaries to a scholarship fund for nursing students at my hospital. Fifth, the health insurance. That was trickier, but my HR representative, who I called on Friday morning, informed me that I could remove adult children and their families during qualifying life events or open enrollment. I documented the material change in relationship and began the removal process. My phone started ringing Friday afternoon. I didn't answer. It rang again Friday evening, Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon. By Saturday evening, I had 17 missed calls from Marcus, 9 from Jessica, and 3 text messages ranging from confused to angry to desperate. The texts were instructive. "Mom, we need to talk about this. You're being unreasonable. Vivian, I think there's been a misunderstanding. Please call us. The bank called about the loan. This is insane. You can't do this to your own family." But I could, and I was. Sunday morning, they showed up at my door. I watched through the window as Marcus and Jessica got out of her SUV, the one I was about to repossess. They looked haggard, tired. Good. I let them ring the doorbell 3 times before I opened it. "Mom, thank God." Marcus moved to hug me. I stepped back. "You can say whatever you need to say from right there." They stood on my porch, the November wind whipping Jessica's hair around her face. She'd been crying. Her eyes were puffy and red. "Can we at least come inside?" Marcus asked. "No." The single word landed like a door slamming. Jessica flinched. "Mom, please, we need to fix this." Marcus's voice cracked. "We're sorry, okay? We handled Thanksgiving badly, but you can't destroy our lives because of one bad dinner." "One bad dinner?" I laughed, and it sounded harsh even to my own ears. "Marcus, this wasn't about one dinner. This was about being dismissed, replaced, and mocked for every sacrifice I've made. This was about you telling me I'd been upgraded. Do you remember saying that?" He had the grace to look ashamed. "I was trying to make a joke. It came out wrong." "What came out wrong was your complete lack of respect for everything I've done for you, both of you." I looked at Jessica. "I signed for your house when no one else would. I took you onto my insurance when you couldn't afford your own. I've babysat, helped financially, shown up for every school play and soccer game and birthday party, and my reward, being seated at the kids' table while Cheryl plays matriarch in my place." "It wasn't like that," Jessica said weakly. "Then what was it like? Explain it to me. Make me understand how I'm supposed to feel welcome when everything about that evening told me I was an inconvenience you tolerated out of obligation." Silence. Marcus struggled for words. Jessica wanted her mom there. They haven't been close, and she's trying to rebuild that relationship. We didn't know how to balance both of you. "So you chose to eliminate me instead of having an honest conversation? You couldn't call and say, 'Mom, this year is different'? You had to let me drive 3 hours and walk into my own humiliation?" "We didn't think you'd react like this," Jessica said. "We thought you'd be understanding. You've always been understanding." "I've always been a doormat, you mean. I've always accepted less because I was so grateful to be included at all. Well, I'm done being grateful for scraps from my own family. The bank says if we don't pay back the down payment, they could foreclose." Marcus blurted out. "Mom, that's our home. That's where your grandchildren live. You should have thought of that before you upgraded grandmothers." "This is cruel," Jessica said, her voice rising. "You're punishing the kids because your feelings got hurt." "I'm not punishing anyone. I'm simply withdrawing my support. If Cheryl is the family you want, let her support you. Let her co-sign your loans. Let her give you her car, her money, her time. I'm sure she'll be happy to." "She doesn't have that kind of money," Marcus admitted quietly. "Neither did I, but I gave it anyway. That's the difference between a woman who shows up for holidays and a mother who shows up for life." "We'll pay you back," Marcus said desperately. "Just give us time. We'll figure out the house payment. But please, the car, the insurance, the college funds, those affect the kids. Don't take this out on Emma and Tyler." "I'm not taking anything out on them. I'm teaching them a valuable lesson their parents failed to teach. Actions have consequences. You can't treat people as disposable and expect them to keep giving." Jessica was crying openly now. "We made a mistake. We're sorry. What more do you want?" What did I want? I wanted the past 5 years back. I wanted every birthday check I'd sent, every emergency babysitting call I'd answered, every time I'd rearranged my life to accommodate theirs. I wanted the moment back when I'd made the choice to put them first, always first, without question or hesitation. But that was impossible. I want you to mean it, I said finally. I want you to understand what you did, not just regret the consequences. There's a difference. We do understand, Marcus insisted. It was wrong. We were thoughtless and hurtful, and we're sorry. Are you sorry you hurt me, or sorry that I'm not bailing you out anymore? The question hung between us. Marcus opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. Both, he admitted. I can't separate them. We need you, Mom. Financially, practically, and emotionally. We need you. It was the most honest thing he'd said. I could see it cost him. This admission that they'd built their life on a foundation of my support and were now watching it crumble. Here's what's going to happen, I said, my voice steady. I've already filed the paperwork for the loan repayment, the car return, and the insurance changes. Those are non-negotiable. You have 90 days to secure your own financing for the house. You have 72 hours to return. The vehicle. The insurance changes will take effect at the end of this month. Mom, I'm not finished. The college funds are remaining where I've moved them. However, I will consider setting up new accounts in the future if, and only if, certain conditions are met. Jessica wiped her eyes. What conditions? Family therapy, all of us. A neutral third party who can help us establish boundaries and expectations. You want a relationship with your mother? Fine. But it doesn't require erasing me. You want my financial help? Then I want respect, not relegation to overflow seating. You want me to be grandma? Then I'm grandma, not the backup when Nana Cheryl isn't available. Marcus and Jessica looked at each other. And one more thing, I continued. You explain to Emma and Tyler why Grandma Viv isn't at Christmas. You tell them the truth, that you decided to prioritize someone else and it hurt me. So I'm taking space. Age-appropriate truth, but truth nonetheless. I won't be the bad guy in their story because you don't want to admit you were wrong. When can we see you again? Marcus asked, his voice small. When you've done what I asked, therapy scheduled, car returned, refinancing in process, and when you can look me in the eye and tell me why what you did was wrong beyond just, we got caught. They left. I watched the SUV disappear down my street, and I finally let myself cry. Not gentle tears, deep, wrenching sobs that came from somewhere primal. I cried for the illusion I'd lost, the family I'd thought we were. I cried for the grandmother I'd been and might never be again. I cried for Emma and Tyler, caught in the middle of adult failures, but I didn't call them back. The 72 hours passed. The SUV appeared in my driveway on Tuesday morning, keys in an envelope with a note. We're working on the other things. Please be patient with us. The bank called me on Wednesday. Marcus had contacted them about refinancing. Without my co-signature and with their actual debt-to-income ratio visible, they qualified for a loan, barely, but at a significantly higher interest rate. Their monthly payment would increase by nearly $800. That wasn't my problem anymore. Thanksgiving came and went. I spent it with my nursing friends, women who'd become family over decades of working holidays together. We laughed, ate too much, and didn't discuss my absent son once. It was the first time in years I'd felt genuinely relaxed during a holiday. December brought the first therapy session. Marcus and Jessica sat stiffly on one side of the room. I sat across from them. Dr. Reeves, our therapist, guided us through exercises in communication and listening. Jessica admitted she'd never felt close to her mother and had overcompensated when Cheryl showed interest in being more present. Marcus admitted he'd always felt caught between us and had taken the path of least resistance, which meant sidelining the parent who'd always been, there because I would understand. Understanding doesn't mean accepting, I told him. You mistook my reliability for being taken for granted. We attended 4 sessions before Christmas. Progress was slow, painful, honest. They didn't make excuses. They didn't minimize. They sat with the discomfort of facing what they'd done. On December 23rd, my doorbell rang. Emma and Tyler stood there with Marcus and Jessica behind them. The kids held a poster board they'd clearly made themselves, covered in glitter glue and uneven letters. "We're sorry, Grandma Viv. We miss you." "Can we talk?" Marcus asked. I let them in. We sat in my living room, the same room where I'd opened my laptop on Thanksgiving night and changed everything. The kids climbed onto my lap immediately, Emma on one knee, Tyler on the other. Too big for this, really, but doing it anyway. "We've done a lot of thinking," Jessica said, "and talking and learning, and Mom, Vivian, we were wrong. Not just about Thanksgiving, but about taking you for granted, about building our lives on your support while treating you like an afterthought." "Cheryl went back to Arizona," Marcus added. "We explained what happened. She felt terrible. She didn't realize we'd excluded you. She thought you'd declined to come." "Did she?" I asked, not entirely believing it. "She did. She sent you this." Jessica handed me an envelope. Inside was a card with a handwritten note. "I never meant to take your place. I'm sorry for being part of hurting you. Cheryl." Maybe it was genuine. Maybe it was damage control. I chose to accept it at face value. "Where do we go from here?" I asked. "We'd like you to come for Christmas," Marcus said carefully. "Just us. No Cheryl, no extended family, just the 6 of us. And Mom, you're at the head of the table, where you belong." "We also opened a joint account," Jessica added. "We calculated every dollar you've given us over the past 5 years, not just the down payment, but the insurance, the babysitting, the birthday money, everything. We're setting up a payment plan to pay you back. It'll take years, but we want you to know we see it now. We see what you gave." "I don't need you to pay back the birthday money," I said. "We know, but we need to. We need to recognize that love isn't measured in dollars, but dollars show where your priorities are. And you've always prioritized us." Emma tugged on my sleeve. "Are you still mad at us, Grandma?" "I was never mad at you, sweetheart. I was hurt by your parents, but I never stopped loving any of you." "Will you come for Christmas?" Tyler asked. "Please? It's not the same without you." I looked at my son and daughter-in-law. They looked back, hope and fear mixed on their faces. They'd done the work. The therapy, the hard conversations, the financial reckoning. They'd acknowledged the hurt they'd caused. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean going back to the way things were. It means moving forward with new understanding. "I'll come for Christmas," I said, "but we're establishing some ground rules. I'm not a backup plan or a convenience. I'm not in competition with anyone else's mother. I'm Emma and Tyler's grandmother, and I'm Marcus's mother, and that means something. It means respect, inclusion, honesty." "Yes," they both said immediately. "And if we fall back into old patterns, if I start to feel taken for granted again, I won't make a scene. I'll simply leave, and I won't come back." "Understood," Marcus said. Christmas was different, quieter, more genuine. We played board games and watched movies and ate too many cookies. Emma showed me her school projects. Tyler told me about his soccer team. Jessica asked for my cranberry sauce recipe, the real one, from scratch. Marcus and I talked about his childhood, about the moments I'd treasured and the ones he remembered differently than I did. It wasn't perfect. Healing never is. But it was honest. The refinancing went through in January. Their payment increased, and they adjusted their lifestyle accordingly. The college funds remained in the scholarship program, but I started a small savings account for each child that I contributed to monthly, money they wouldn't see until they turned 25, old enough to understand its significance. Jessica's relationship with Cheryl continued, and I made peace with that. But there were boundaries now. Cheryl visited in the summer. I had the major holidays. We were never in the same place at the same time, and that worked for everyone. I learned something through all of this. Loving someone doesn't mean accepting whatever they give you. It means requiring them to see your worth. My family had taken me for granted because I'd let them. I'd been so afraid of losing them that I'd lost myself. Never again.